This is Robert Pilot of Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake. I'm here to ask you for your support. Finding honest Native-centered news is not easy, but with your support, we're able to provide accurate information about Standing Rock, Line 3, treaty violations, and COVID-19 in our Native communities. Please visit Native Roots Radio Network on Patreon and donate if you can. That's Native Roots Radio Network on Patreon. Pinigigi, and thank you for your support.
Is your remote workforce putting your company at risk? Cyber criminals are targeting your employees with COVID-19 inspired emails and attacking businesses like yours. Hi, Mark Sommerfeld from Rymark. Rymark has the tools and expertise to enable your employees to work securely from home. If you need help getting your staff to work remotely and securely, call 651-328-8900 or go to rymarkit.com. That's 651-328-8900 or rymarkit.com.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Brett Johnson. Look for clear skies tonight with a low around 25, Thursday sunny with a high near 36, and Friday sunny with a high around 34. Grab a tray of Cafe Lattes Cafeteria and select from a wide variety of sandwiches, salads, and soups. The bakery features fresh baked breads, cupcakes, and more, while the pizza and wine bar has gourmet pizzas that pair perfectly with their 30-plus wines by the glass. Located off Victoria and Grand at St. Paul or at cafelatte.com.
Portions of Native Roots Radio may be pre-recorded.
It's a good day to be indigenous.
Get up, stand up.
They are going to become more brutal.
Couldn't cut, any cut again.
Because all the hippies were trying to be Indians anyway.
They're going to become more repressive because it's a matter of dollars and their illusionary concepts of power.
Hey, Victor.
We must live in balance with the earth.
And also with recent happenings that wounded me.
I am awake.
Welcome to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Wakanja Hade. Hey, Kadagi to all my friends and relatives in four directions. You're listening to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Robert Pilot. We discuss local and national Native news and events, and as you know, Haley, Native issues are human issues, and human issues are Native issues.
You are right, Dega. This portion of the show is supported by Native Roots Radio Network on Patreon. Support honest Native news, stories, and events with the Native Roots Radio Network on Patreon.
Well, you know, I'm on day 5 of my COVID experience, my first COVID experience, and I'm quarantined here at home. And I'm a little loopy right now and a little intimidated today because today we have a special show with one of my all-time favorite artists. And this person has been in over 100 movies and television shows. Some of our personal favorites being Powwow Highway, Smoke Signals, Dead Man with Johnny Depp, and The Score. Recently on Rutherford Falls, a TV show, playing our favorite Uncle Brownie in the highly acclaimed FX series Reservation Dogs. Gary is a recording artist and a musician with the band Gary and the Troublemakers, a documentary artist, water protector, and cannabis advocate. We want to give a big welcome to Gary Farmer, our big friend here, and we get to spend a whole hour with Gary. Pinigigi, Gary, thank you so much for coming on.
Yes, It's a pleasure to be on the air with you. Hello, Minnesota.
And Wisconsin. We have to mention Wisconsin too. We're on 20 stations in Wisconsin, so we do have to mention them during football season too. So it's pretty hard for us here in Minnesota. But thank you, Gary, so much for being on. We're going to be playing some different songs from Gary Farmer and the Troublemakers for our bumper music out, and we're really excited. And we're going to play "Make a Change." Playing out, and I don't know, before we get going too far, do you want to have any comments on that song before we get into the big interview here?
It's kind of just like it sounds. I was always looking to make things better for indigenous people and people in general, and I knew that changes had to be made. I guess one of the strongest things, I had a discussion last night with some friends, and I tried to help them understand that socialism isn't like communism, and indeed both of those kind of came from the in terms of the Haudenosaunee, or my people, the Iroquois Confederacy. Both Das Caporo and the American Constitution took parts from our Tree of Peace and our original confederation that created peace between our first 5 nations. So I think there's so much to learn. It's a couple of young countries, both Canada and the US. They're just a couple hundred years old, and they've both been built on economic, unsustainability. And so that it was just a comment on that whole situation, and trying to get the people to join in. And the more you can get people to sing and dance about making a change, and if it doesn't happen, then it makes you feel that, well, we should continue to sing and continue to dance our way out, as it were.
Wow, good words, good words. Hey, we want to kind of get to know a little bit about you, and one of the things I'd love to ask you is, you have a long career. You first started acting in professionally in 1976. What got you the bug to be actor, storyteller? How did that process start with you? Do you remember did you have an aha moment, or was it a process that you just put one foot in front of the other and took some opportunity? Did you feel like you always wanted to be an actor?
No, I don't think so. I was kind of forced, but luckily. But where it all started, I think, was my interest as a child. I grew up in kind of a gang-like situation in the inner city of Buffalo, New York, with a lot of other Haudenosaunee at the time. It was kind of our territories, even though our Confederacy split in half during the War of 1812. The migrations for work were constant with our skill as, iron worker. My father was a crane operator and stuff. And, I could see the path in front of me. I mean, I probably could have been a football player, but I didn't like the violence of the game much. And so in my senior year of high school, I picked up photography as a means to kind of dispel their interest for me to play football. And I pacified their interest by taking their picture as football players for the team. And that was an interesting way to kind of maneuver. And, when you're in a kind of a gang life, at least in Buffalo, everyone kind of became police officers. And I thought, well, I'd start off, going from the illegitimate gang to the legitimate gang as a college choice. But then Attica happened, and I saw, as a young student, it was very hard to change what's going on within the manufacturing of police departments and the management. And I really saw the corruption, like an open sore. And so I ended up maneuvering my way into Syracuse University for a year and studied only film and arts related stuff. But I kind of fibbed my way in, because being a Canadian Indian, I had to study something that I couldn't get in the States. And so I told them I wanted to be an FBI agent. And of course, this is like 1973 when, the FBI and that whole Wounded Knee all rekindled again. And so it was kind of an ironic position to be as a youngster, but, it was all pretty unknown to me, the politics of the day for Native America as a young kind of urban student. And I really caught up quick. It was an interesting university. Anyway, I ended up going back to Canada and pursued filmmaking and photography for a couple of years in what's now called the Toronto Metro University. It used to be called Ryerson, but he's the guy who started the residential school system in Canada. They changed the name, but it was an interesting journey. And while I was there in Canada, there was this man, a Cree man, who was from Saskatchewan. He was an opera singer and played in opera, and he, started this organization called the Association for Native Development in the Performing and Visual Arts. And me being a photographer, he employed me to take pictures of events, and that's where I met Thompson Highway and Renee Highway those days, and they became everlasting friends. He was a modern dancer at the time. Thompson was a Northern Cree composer and pianist, and later became an amazing playwright together, having worked with him for a number of years. So, but Jim had this theater school, and he took a bunch of Anishinaabe children, kids, really 13, 14 years old, to this camp. And he employed this really fancy British theater. He was well trained in England, and he came up there with those Anishinaabe kids, and it wasn't working out. And I guess Jim thought maybe I was a little more worldly, so he sent me up there to kind of mother goose these kids through this period of their life. 4 or 5 weeks it was at the time. And I fell in love with the creative theatrical process of telling stories. And I always wanted to help. As a child, I knew things were a little not right. Growing up in an Indigenous family in the inner city, and there was a social network amongst the Indigenous people there in town, but I knew things weren't good. And as a youngster, and I wanted to help. And when I discovered the theater, I realized this is how I can help. And that was in 1975. So.
Wow. Hey, we are here with Gary Farmer, and we're going to listen to a little Gary Farmer and the Troublemakers and come right back. You're listening to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake.
Stay with us.
You gotta move it, shake it. You gotta turn it all around. It's time to boogie. Time to boogie all night long. You gotta make a change.
When we heal from our traumas,
when we face our fears,
let go of our addictions,
when we relearn our values,
when we live our teachings,
respecting our elders,
cherishing and honoring our children,
when we honor and take care of our spirit,
there will be no room left for sexual violence.
Sponsored by the Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Coalition.
Hi, I'm Claudia with MinSure, Minnesota's official health insurance marketplace. With MinSure, you can compare health plans from multiple companies and get free help from a trusted expert. Whatever health plan you choose with MinSure, it's guaranteed to cover essential benefits, so you can get the care you need. See if you qualify for discounts, available only through MinSure. If you need quality comprehensive health insurance, get started now at minsure.org.
Temperatures are cooling off and fall migration is underway. Do you know what that means? Eagle viewing season is almost here, and the National Eagle Center is your headquarters for information and experiences. This winter, experience bald and golden eagles in the wild with an unforgettable expert-led field trip. Plan your private eagle habitat tour and learn where the best eagle viewing is with weekly eagle counts. Plus, you can visit the eagles at the center all season long. Plan your visit or experience today online at nationaleaglecenter.org.
Unveil the captivating world of native photography at the Minneapolis Institute of Art. Their new exhibit, In Our Hands, Native Photography 1890 to Now, turns the camera around and puts native photographers in control, featuring hundreds of photographs captured by generations of First Nations, Métis, Inuit, and Native Americans. You'll view the world through their lens, revealing the beauty and complexity of Indigenous heritage. Don't miss this incredible experience. Visit In Our Hands at the Minneapolis Institute of Art now through January 14th. For more info, visit artsmia.org.
We gotta make the change. It's time. We gotta work together. We gotta make the change. We gotta make the change. Gotta work together. Everyone is one. Make the change. Gotta make the change. You know, you got to reach out to your neighbor down this south. We got to make a balance all around. You know, one person same as the next. Hey, no matter how much money you got, you gotta make the change. Well, it's day for night and bebopping across the
Hey,
land.
we're back with actor, musician, activist, storyteller Gary Farmer. That was one of his groovy songs, "Make the Change," and I love the blues. And you got to be sad to have sing the blues, right, Gary?
Not necessarily. I mean,
I'm just
yeah.
kidding. Hey, welcome back. Hey, let's talk a little bit about your acting career right now. And I think it's really kind of fun that young people, and especially young people in our community here, are getting turned on to Gary Farmer in 2023. You know, you were on Res Dogs as Uncle Brownie. And speaking of Res Dogs, Reservation Dogs, how cool is it to see the younger generation pick up the baton now and really do a lot of creative stuff in the movie and media genre?
Well, I always knew it was going to happen. You know, we got two strongest stories. First of all, you know our history, relationship with the Canadians and the Americans. That history and phenomenal history amongst the Black community when slavery was first brought to this country. I mean, that story has never been told in terms of our relationship and and how that came to be. So it was inevitable, especially with someone like James, like I spoke of the last chapter was. We started training our young right from the start in terms of expressing himself artistically. I wasn't only an actor, I also published. When I saw that our stories were going out to non-native producers and they were getting all the credit for those stories when they were our stories, so the effort began early in my career to start bringing things back home, and I started going after radio signals across the whole country. At one point I had 70% of Canada by radio through the 9 major urban center. And I started working with the CRTC and eventually got the Aboriginal People's Television Network on air with my ability to kind of negotiate with the commission to license Native America for our kind of different story we got. We're looking at the world with totally different eyes. And it felt like we needed to be heard more than ever. So it was a natural progression over the course of my 49 years in this business.
Yeah, it's also great to see and working with, and I personally like being an older person. I'm a baby elder in my tribe, but we I like the homage that they did with you guys in Reservation Dogs, where they had you, Graham Greene, Wes Studi, Richard Whitman, and involved in that, modern tale. And I think it's really important to, if you are moving forward, to also give homage to the past too. And I think that's what they did really well in that show.
Well, it's the way it is in a community, right? The show's all about the community and the love the community has for our elders and the aunties and uncles in our community. That's kind of the way it is, unless there's a major influx of issues that a lot of our communities are dealing with on a day-to-day. Everything okay?
Yeah, we lost you for a second, but you're back.
Oh, yeah. Well, it was just a natural thing. And that was the whole sense of Reservation Dogs was the community, to create a community. And for the most part, the acting community, the performance community, the writing community, it's not very big. It's growing much larger now. But in
Hmm.
the day, it was a fairly small, quaint community, and we all knew each other. We all worked with each other. There was a very little infighting, so to speak. It was very, I think, envisioned image to make all that happen, and it just paid off beautifully in Reservation Dogs, and the accolades have been unlike anything I've ever seen as a performer in the business as long as I have been. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was so fun. I did not know what to expect, but having you being the uncle and the kids finding you and it was just fun and had a big smile in the community, the native community, to have you show up like that. That was awesome.
Oh yeah. I mean, I've always been a participant. Most of my life as well was spent in the theater. You
Hmm.
develop a new writer's work. You never know where that's going to lead that writer or the theater company that produced it. That they and I did that for years before I became a television and film actor, and that's really the training ground.
Yeah, well, you support natives and native businesses. It sounds like, with purchasing these radio stations over the years. I remember hearing that story. And also your support of cannabis, too. I think that's something that kind of parlayed off your character, but also in real life, too.
Well, the radio stations isn't something we purchased. I went at it a totally nonprofit model.
Hmm.
It wasn't about ownership or privatization of radio. I was trying to create a collective concept where I was even ambitious so that the signal could run off the sun nationally. And that's very possible with, FM radio doesn't need as much electricity as AM and such. So it was a dream to kind of unify the 600 nations of Canada so that we could feed news and information to the country that would help socialize them to their own history. Because
Yeah.
much of that history was denied by educators the last century or so. And so I was really just trying to show the value of Native people and the Native language, because when you start to think of the languages, it's true study of nature based on observation of time over centuries of time. And that knowledge is intrinsic to human survival on the planet. So it was a big vision, and it had nothing to do with about commercialization.
Awesome. Thanks for straightening me out there, even though we're on a commercial stations right now. But I feel
In Canada, the interesting thing is all commercial stations give a portion of their budget, somewhere between 2 and 4% of their annual budget, to public good. In Canada, I got that public good to qualify as Aboriginal or Native American news and information and music, because they knew little about us. So I was using that, attracting private broadcasters to help a public system grow and mature.
Wow, that's awesome, and
It's a good idea for the FCC. They're kind of behind in that. In fact, Reagan sold out much of radio back in his tenure to
right.
privatization, and it really took a hurting on radio in the U.S., especially
Oh,
public.
totally. We're blessed to be on this AM station here in the Twin Cities, Progressive Voice, but after deregulating, we have 9 people owning 90% of the media now here in the United States, and that's something we're fighting with, and fighting back for. We're here with Gary Farmer, and we got a little more Gary Farmer and the Troublemakers here. You're listening to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake.
Mardi Gras queen. I'm a fool for love. Fool for love, and it's you I'm dreaming of. I'm a fool for love. Fool for love, and it's you.
Minnesota has the only original wolf population in the continental United States.
And 80% of Minnesotans believe the wolf should be protected.
Howling for Wolves is asking Minnesotans to respect our true wildlife manager, the wolf.
Their survival is critical to our ecosystems, our communities, and even our economy.
As highly intelligent animals with strong social bonds, Minnesota wolves deserve to be protected and admired.
Learn more at howlingforwolves.org. Let's live and let howl. J&S Bean Factory is a native-owned, community-supported, cozy, artsy coffee shop which offers roasted on-site beans, live music, and baked goods. Relax in the beautiful outside patio. City Pages writes, voted top 10 coffee shops. Tucked into a quiet corner of St. Paul's Highland Park neighborhood, this coffee shop roasts beans on-site from the best coffee-growing countries in the world. Located at 1518 Randolph Avenue, St. Paul. The good stuff.
Minnesotans age 65 plus might qualify for Health Partners Minnesota Senior Health Options. The plan includes personal support, coverage for medical, prescription drugs, and dental, plus over 30 extra benefits. Eligibility information is available at healthpartners.com/oneplan. Health Partners is a health plan that contracts with both Medicare and the Minnesota Medical Assistance Medicaid program to provide benefits of both programs to enrollees. Enrollment in Health Partners depends on contract renewal.
Unveil the captivating world of native photography at the Minneapolis Institute of Art. Their new exhibit, In Our Hands, Native Photography 1890 to Now, turns the camera around and puts native photographers in control, featuring hundreds of photographs captured by generations of First Nations, Métis, Inuit, and Native Americans. You'll view the world through their lens, revealing the beauty and complexity of Indigenous heritage. Don't miss this incredible experience. Visit In Our Hands at the Minneapolis Institute of Art now through January 14th. For more info, visit artsmia.org.
Signing up for $1 bus and train rides with the Transit Assistance Program, or TAP, is quick and easy. Do it straight from your computer or phone by uploading one of the pre-approved documents listed at metrotransit.org/TAP, along with a copy of your ID. We'll mail you a go-to card with a full year of discounted rides. For questions or translation help, call 612-373-3333. 612-373-3333.
Be a vaccinative. As the fall season continues, new COVID-19 variants threaten the health of not just you, but our elders as well. These new variants might even evade previous vaccines. That's why it's important to stay up to date. The newly authorized vaccines target current variants effectively and are FDA approved for ages 6 months and older. But there is an important note. These are the first COVID vaccines to be commercialized, which means there may be costs associated with them. Speak with your health insurer about your coverage before scheduling an appointment to avoid a surprise bill. For those without health insurance, help is available. Ask your health clinic about options or visit vaccines.gov for free locations. Getting vaccinated protects you from severe disease. Don't put yourself or elders at risk. So be a vaccinative and protect our community. You can visit vaccines.gov for free vaccine locations.
This message is brought to you in partnership with the Minnesota Department of Health. With your AM 950 weather, I'm Brett Johnson. Look for clear skies tonight with a low around 25, Thursday sunny with a high near 36, and Friday sunny with a high around 34. Since 1984, Cafe Latte has been serving up the freshest baked goods and modern comfort food in a cafeteria setting. Their menu is prepared with the best ingredients available. Cafe Latte is a leader in sustainable dining, composting their food and paper waste along with recycling everything they can. Located off Victoria and Grand in St. Paul or at cafelatte.com.
His name, he ran amok, pushed his luck, going against the grain. He's an eye gambler, toe tap rambler at the top of his game. Since he's been gone, this old world ain't never been the same. I'm a fool for love, fool for love, and it's you I'm dreaming of. I'm
more for love than is you. I'm dreaming of. I know I have.
I'm awake. I'm your host, Robert Pilot.
This portion of the show is supported by the Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Coalition.
Great sponsor and great partner all these years. They do great work all over Turtle Island. Hey, before we get too far into this, we're with actor, musician, activist, storyteller Gary Farmer, and we just played Fool for You. And I want to ask Gary, before I turn it over to our Gen Z producer here with a question, where can we get and listen to your music? What's the best way?
That particular album with, the beautiful painting of me playing the harmonica can be gotten anywhere on social platforms or wherever you buy your music. So it's available out there. So it's widely available that way. I distribute it through CD Baby, and certainly their website works too.
Right on. Hey, so we got a question here from Haley, our producer and Gen Zer. Go ahead, Haley.
Yeah, well, hey, Gary, I just want to say big Pinagigi, thank you for joining us tonight on Native Roots Radio. I want to introduce myself again. My name's Haley Chashape Wangoinik. I'm a descendant of Ho-Chunk Nation and the Winnebago tribe in Nebraska. My name means Little Eagle Princess, and I'm Eagle Clan. There was a big movie that just came out recently, and I know you had worked with Robert De Niro in the past in the score. I was wondering if you got a chance to see Killers of the Flower Moon yet. I know Lily Gladstone starred in that, and was just curious to see just your opinion on her performance in the movie, as well as Robert De Niro's in that one as well.
Unfortunately, I haven't seen the movie. I'm not much for extremely popular cinema. I must look at about 500 independent features because I've been working hard with the Santa Fe International Film Festival for all these years since inception. And so spend a lot of time finding the best of the best out there and promoting that. And so often I don't get to, I did manage to see just a few minutes of Oppenheimer the other day, but I'm sure eventually I'll take a look. But Lily's a longtime friend and collaborator. In fact, we just promoting a film called Quantum Cowboy. It just got some distribution, probably primarily because Lily's stardom in Killers of the Flower Moon. So Robert, on the other hand, has been a lot of fun to work with in the past for me. He has a great sense of humor. He's got a lot of humility, and it's nice to hear him make that speech last night at the. I didn't see the whole speech, but I'm glad that he's calling out what's been reality for us since my tenure in the business. We've had to face a lot of racism. Early in my career, there were no Native writers. There were no Native directors, and I had, as the actor, the sole responsibility to try and keep them, somewhat understanding of who we were representing in the film. So it's wonderful, so much more comfort as an actor now to go to set and knowing that all your relatives and all the creatives that come from the 600 communities in the U.S., there's some things that are very common, and so it's been much easier, and it's just lovely to see Lily's rise to stardom, and all those young people from Res Dogs. Now we get to watch their career for the next 50 years, and what they can do with it, and what stories they find of interest to tell as performers. So, yeah, it's a special time for sure.
It's interesting too. We'll get back to what Robert De Niro said in a second, but it's interesting too. I used to be a high school student before I started my other job, and Bobby Wilson was a student of mine. So you always have your handful with creative people, and Bobby's one of the most creative people I've met as a student in my 30 years of teaching.
Good. Yes, he's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's total fun. Haley, do you have Robert De Niro's quote at all? Because I know there was some controversy about that. If people are out there listening, not knowing what we're talking about, uh, somebody took out part of his speech and then he ad-libbed his speech about basically how Native Americans uh, are still fighting the John Wayne syndrome. And to my understanding, wasn't that correct, Haley?
Yeah, yep. So it was actually Monday, and this was at the Gotham Awards. Robert De Niro noticed that there was alleged editing and reads that were missing on his portion of the speech on the teleprompter. So what he actually did was took out his phone and read the remainder of his speech that they took out, and he said he was going to do it anyways. And it included, just statements noting that the industry isn't immune to racism. And, he specifically called out former actor John Wayne's statements about indigenous tribes and their selfish attitudes about keeping their lands as an example, just kind of these attitudes. And so Robert De Niro has stated, I'm going to say these things, but to Apple, who produced Killers of the Flowers Moon, but to Apple and thank them and all of that, Gotham's blah, blah, blah. De Niro said, but I don't feel like thanking them at all after what they just did. How dare they do that, actually? So I very much thank you for bringing up that point, Gary, because we were looking into that story as well.
Well, there's a uncomfortable. I feel like I don't know if anyone's ever watched Saturday Night Live when one of the actors was interviewing Paul McCarthy, and that's the way I feel right now. It's so intimidated, Gary. Thank you so much for being on. It's just I would really like you to take the show over here and talk about what you'd like to talk about. And I think you are such an interesting person, not only your past, but what you're doing right now. I think the music, I saw you up in Duluth jamming with a whole bunch of artists a couple of years ago. I've seen you be master of ceremonies at the Minnesota Native Chamber of Commerce, all those things. And you're still working and you're still doing it and you're still active and you still have an opinion. So I'd love to hear what you're thinking about right now.
Well, I tried to get on the new Native Theater website. It seems to be down, which is a theater company that exists in Minneapolis. And I worked with them over a couple of workshop sessions during the COVID period. It was a play that was to play for them over the last couple of Christmases. It's called The Christmas in Onchapi. And it's playing now at the new Native Theater, or shortly through the holiday season. It was written by a fellow named Montana Cypress, who's a Miccosukee from Central Florida. They're kind of the Everglades people, and he's a really interesting writer. He's kind of hung out in Los Angeles trying to make a go of it in Hollywood as a filmmaker, as a writer, and as an actor. And I'm ironically sitting here on my way to Los Angeles to do his micro low budget short film shooting in Los Angeles next week called An Ode to Leviticus, which is probably about a 15-minute film with Tantu Cardinal, who was also in Killers of the Flower Moon. So just a little irony, a little plug for the play happening in Minneapolis this over the holiday season, and my effort to help this young filmmaker realize a good film. So, the other interesting thing is this series with Chaskey Spencer. He's a Assiniboine, from Montana there, and he's been a longtime actor based out of New York City. I worked with him and Emily Blunt in this series called The English. We shot it in Spain with a Spanish crew, and it was a BBC production. But if you get a chance to watch this 6-part series, I think it's a great kind of historical overview of the settling of America from, more of a Native perspective than you usually get. And I did mention Quantum Cowboys. It's now in theaters and streaming. Just search it again, featuring Lily Gladstone and Kiowa Gordon and this fun artist that's been in my band from time to time, Hal Gelb, who also co-wrote that film. So, I've been pushing around a short film called Vertebrae by a dear friend named Travis Schilling. He's an Ojibwe painter, playwright, and director. He's born in Rama, Ontario, and son of a famous artist named Arthur Schilling. And Travis has been exhibiting art since the age of 21 in Canada, in Europe, and the US. And his work always is profound. And if there's any young film festivals out there would like us to submit this, Vertebrae to you, we'd be happy to. And so it's an exciting time for me. It's nice to win the Best Americana Album at the 223 New Mexico Music Awards. Sing that song, reached number 5 on the top Indigenous music countdown in Canada. So it's been a great year for me, and I'm just really grateful for you guys having me on the show.
Well, we'll probably let you go because we really appreciate your time. And one thing I wanted to just tell you, truth be told, my daughter, Mahinu, my first daughter, is in that play in New Native Theater. She's an actor, and she's playing, if you know the play, she's playing the white girlfriend. So she's
yes.
So, Gary, I just want to say thank you so much for being on. I really, really appreciate you spending time with us, and I know our audiences just love this. I hope to get you on again when things slow down for you a little bit again, but thank you so much, and let's listen to this music the rest of the way on this second to last segment. Thank you so much, Gary Farmer.
She can fly a plane or drive a car right off a mountain cliff. That's how tough she is. Oh my God, my friend, you better watch yourself.
Signing up for $1 bus and train rides with the Transit Assistance Program, or TAP, is quick and easy. Do it straight from your computer or phone by uploading one of the pre-approved documents listed at metrotransit.org/TAP, along with a copy of your ID. We'll mail you a go-to card with a full year of discounted rides. For questions or translation help, call 612-373-3333. 612-373-3333.
Hi, I'm Claudia with MinSure, Minnesota's official health insurance marketplace. With MinSure, you can compare health plans from multiple companies and get free help from a trusted expert. Whatever health plan you choose with MinSure, it's guaranteed to cover essential benefits, so you can get the care you need. See if you qualify for discounts, available only through MinSure. If you need quality, comprehensive health insurance, get started now at minsure.org.
Signing up for $1 bus and train rides with the Transit Assistance Program, or TAP, is quick and easy. Do it straight from your computer or phone by uploading one of the pre-approved documents listed at metrotransit.org/TAP, along with a copy of your ID. We'll mail you a go-to card with a full year of discounted rides. For questions or translation help, call 612-373-3333. 612-373-3333.
She's the toughest girl. She's the toughest girl. She's the toughest girl. She's the toughest girl. For all I know, she could be here, standing over there. She's tricky, man. Yeah, watch your face. She'll rip your heart in two. I wish you well with all you do. You better catch that train. It takes you far away from here, just where you want to be. She's the toughest girl I ever knew. Notorious in these bars. She's the toughest girl. She's the toughest
Hey, welcome back to Native Roots Radio Presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Robert Pilot.
This portion of the show is supported by Howling for Wolves, protecting wolves for future generations.
How?
How?
Wow. That was intense for me, Haley. I just, we were chatting amongst ourselves via text with the mothership, and great job at the mothership bringing in the music and out. It was perfect, and felt like I was walking on glass. But hey, totally prepared for this, and Gary was awesome, and I thought it was a good time to let him go because he really had a lot of great things to say and things to chew on.
Yeah, he definitely did. That was such a fun time. And really, we appreciate all that Gary has done and the representation that he's created in the community for us in film and in music and all of the art. So big pinagigi to Gary.
Yeah, definitely. Hey, we don't want to put a damper on this, but we do want to kind of bring this up, Haley, is some local news that's just breaking right now. I think if you don't mind, if you could pull up and talk about that a little bit, and then we'll get back into the positive show we had in the music.
Yeah, well, I just was getting an email through. I don't know if this was recently. I know this was today. I'm not sure which encampment this was, but I'm sure it was one of the ones in Minneapolis here. There was a shooting inside the camp. The police officers, I'm not sure this email, they are looking for a missing person. But for now, to keep doors enclosed and keeping everyone safe. So if you are in an area downtown in the Twin Cities, specifically Minneapolis, and you have relatives in an encampment, just maybe check in on those people and make sure that they're doing okay.
Yeah, definitely. Always be aware of what your surroundings and things like that. So I appreciate that update, and maybe some more will come in, and maybe one of our listeners will send us a text or something. One of the things I just love the speech that Gary did in Smoke Signals when he was talking about him and Victor playing basketball with the priest, the Jesuit priest. So, and it's cool, and you have to really walk softly. It'd be like, he's still doing things, he's still active, and you don't want to start talking about stuff that he did 40 years ago or 25 years ago, but it's still hard not to, because I was such a big fan still after all these years of the movie Smoke Signals.
Right. Well, yeah, the specific scene I think you're talking about, too, that one was called, oh, now I just lost it. Anyway, so it's the 25th year of Smoke Signals, actually, because it was released in 1998. That scene specifically, You Gotta Have Faith. And that was Gary's moving monologue during that basketball scene outside. And that was where he was talking about Victor and Arnold, the character that he played, Arnold and his son Victor. Played, I believe it was 2-on-2 with the priests at the school.
Right.
And my favorite quote. That's such a great scene. And just every time I think about it, I got to watch it again and then cry all over again. But the scene, or the quote that he says, he goes, "My boy, he was tough, man. He flew right over those Jesuit like he was some indigenous angel or something. My boy, Victor, he was the man that day. He took that shot and he won the game. It was the Indians versus the Christians that day. And for at least one day, the Indians won."
Yeah.
And then he throws the basketball, and it's all emotional, and he's out there at night on the court by himself. And
right.
Yeah.
Well, he was telling the story to the woman actor. I can't think of her name. Susie Smoke, is the character's name, but she's been in a lot of stuff over the years. And still, there's a show coming out called Hey Victor, and that Gary was in, and I didn't ask him about that, but it's about the person who played the young Victor doing a documentary and a sequel to Smoke Signals called Hey Victor, and it's a spoof, and it's a documentary on the making of the next the sequel to Smoke Signals. And if you look up the information, it's got everybody in there, and it's really funny. And because I don't know, every time I watch that movie, I think of I wonder where those kids are. Or do they keep acting? And you'll find out now, the ones that played the young Victor and Thomas in Smoke Signals.
Oh, they're gonna have the original cast, everyone?
Yeah, it's a mockumentary, I think, and they've already shot it. It's just I don't think it's coming out until 2024.
Oh, that's too long.
That's funny. It's not that long. It's a month away.
Isn't that scary? A month away from 2024.
Yeah, I don't know. They're going by for me fast. I tell you, I'm 62, so I got like 15 more winters left and 14 more summers. So I got to like really pay attention to what's happening here and give everything away. So I have a lot of things I got to start giving away.
Give it to me. Give it to your Chujang.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I'll start with a couple t-shirts and then we'll go from there, Haley.
Oh, okay. I see it. I see how that works.
Well, those are my prized possessions.
That's true. You're very protective of your t-shirts.
And my potato chips, but that's a whole different show and different story that we won't get into. But yeah. So I think what we need to do is reach out to Bobby Wilson and a couple other people now the strike's over. I didn't mention that to Gary. Could have mentioned that, but it's, now we can reach out to our actor friends in the Native community and have them come in and promote what they're doing and talk about what they're doing and what they're up to. So it's an exciting time again, and we wanted to be really conscious of that and not walk over any boundaries, because we know when we talk to it's cool that he brought up New Native Theater too, but when we talked to the founder of New Native Theater, she couldn't really talk about Dark Winds, which she wrote the first segment
right
of the season, or the first episode, I should say. Hey, Haley, great work. AM 950 producer Brett, and we pulled it off. We did a great show with Gary, and nobody got mad at us, so that's always a good thing.
Absolutely.
Hey, if you're listening to the show, you're part of the resistance. From Chief Plentycoops, the ground on which we stand on. It's sacred ground. It's the blood of our ancestors. We need to resist, divest, join a group, run for office. We're still here. We are the 7th generation.
And free Leonard Peltier. Now.
And maybe we can play some Gary now, and I'll pod this down.
Baby, it don't matter where you've been. We got each other. That's all we need to believe in. Love and compassion. Shift the fate, sway. Roll with the punches. Gotta get away. Can't stop that song from coming. Blues falling down like hail. Cadillacs don't care. Cadillacs don't care. There never was a doubt. Twisted up and shot.
With the holidays here, reserve space for your holiday gathering